Stone Cold by Mythical Films. I was meant to find something more Christmassy, however, I failed to find anything, and cold is in the title, and during the holiday season, it's cold. Yeah, that's the only connection I can make, and it's barely a connection. Look, don't judge, and this is actually a really cool series, so we're exploring it today. So, what should you expect to see in this series? A deadly virus that is constantly evolving. No matter how many methods humanity tries to use to fight against it, it never seems to work, and it will always lead to people going into paralysis and eventual death. Not only that, but people will turn on each other when times get tough, especially if food is running low. It's actually pretty insane and a crazy good time. From the audio to the visuals, it really gets under your skin and makes you appreciate that you're not living in a world like that. With that being said, if you're interested, then sit back, relax, maybe get a snack, and as always, my name is Reba Estrella. Let's explore. Stone Cold, an analog horror film. The video first opens with channel surfing, but that soon gets interrupted by an emergency alert system requested by the White House, and specifically, it's a national emergency due to the fact that there's multiple sightings of demon eyes. There's a virus that the world is attempting to fight off with sanitations and quarantines, however, at some point, just removing the infected person entirely seems more effective. Brutal, but necessary. We then move on to the question, what is the issue? Well, the Medusa virus spreads through eye contact, and there aren't many tests revolving around the virus itself, meaning it's pretty mysterious. So what can you do? Refrain from using the telephone unless it's an emergency, block the doors, blind the windows, don't go outside, and avoid making eye contact with infected people. In addition to that, don't help the infected, obviously. As for the symptoms of the Medusa virus, they can vary, but for the first stage, it's contamination, which if a person makes eye contact with an infected person, then their eyes will start to swell, their pupils will expand abnormally large, and they may experience heavy sweating, nausea, and pain in the upper face area. To eliminate the virus during the stage, the infected person must surgically remove their eyeballs. Second stage, the infected person will permanently go blind in one or both eyes and experience extreme pain and near paralysis, and at this point, eliminating the virus is impossible, and patients could die during this stage. Now, in the final stage, a lot of the infected person's muscle mass will lessen, and it's speculated that they might hear loud voices in their heads before going into full paralysis from the neck down. Once in this state, they will make whimpering noises and try to grab attention from other people, but as mentioned before, never make eye contact with the infected people, even if they scream. And once their eyeballs explodes, it allows direct infection from the eye wound, which that aspect is still being looked into by researchers. And in the conclusion of the video, the voiceover starts to glitch out and talks about the end times, specifying that we should just say goodbye, and if you look hard enough, you could see a disturbed face in the corner. Listen, if that's an infected person, I'm taking you all out with me because I looked into their eyes too. Anyways, this whole Medusa virus thing is clearly dangerous, but this is just a teaser of what's to come, so let's continue to learn more. Redolence, Stone Cold 2. We first see security footage from people's homes in which we focus on someone walking on the sidewalk. However, that was brief and we switch away to a discovery report from the National Virology Lab. Obviously, the investigation is on the Medusa virus, and these reports are submitted by Dr. Engler, and all findings are confidential. Also interrupting the reports, we see footage of someone walking in the streets, in secluded areas, dirt roads, and seemingly the woods. But anyways, the Medusa virus, as mentioned before, has symptoms like swelling eyes, which is a result of the bloodstream flowing towards the brain. It also damages the cerebellum and spinal nerves. The infection is obviously caused by eye contact, specifically by activating the amygdala, which is the region of the brain that is primarily associated with processing emotions, and it might cause the sense of being threatened. Also, at some point in time, a mutation of the virus was discovered which is lighter and airborne. However, unlike other airborne diseases, it's completely controlled by the direction it floats in. And before we get told more about that, a doctor named Marshall interrupts the recording, claiming that they inhaled it, and they're freaking out. We then cut away to an emergency alert system requested by the White House. It's talking about the mutated version of the virus and telling those watching this broadcast to focus on the alert and to avoid inhaling before arriving at a safe location. The virus's appearance is like an orange cloud of smoke, flowing similar to tear gas, and it's recommended to cover your mouth with a wet cloth to avoid inhaling it. And if you're lucky enough to be indoors, then it's recommended to lock and use airtight products on all windows, doors, and vents. Once that's done, just turn on the air conditioning and the people outside, they can just suffocate. Kidding! We soon get shown the instructions telling the people outside to immediately head indoors and to cover their face while closing their eyes. And a good way to identify this virus, besides its appearance, is by its smell, which is similar to a cake or pie. Cool! By the way, once you smell it, you'll start feeling nostalgia and you'll have a lack of control similar to being drunk. It might smell nice, but don't follow the smell like a cartoon character. Sadly, many people will go into a state of sleepwalking after catching a whiff, and they're beyond saving. The more they inhale it, the more they'll develop the symptoms of the Medusa virus. And if you catch anyone walking outside strangely in the streets, then just call the authorities and don't watch their deaths. And to conclude the alert, we get told to avoid doing any activities that require a lot of breathing, and the voiceover prays for us. And to conclude the video, we see footage of someone wandering in the woods, which is what we saw glimpses of, interrupting the reports from earlier, but oddly enough, we hear the sounds of crying in the background before eventually the person comes to a full stop, and they stand there for a few seconds until the footage ends. Clearly in the final footage, we're seeing a person who caught the virus, but they caught the mutated version of the virus, which is the airborne one. We see them wandering the streets aimlessly, and in the end, when they're whimpering and go into complete paralysis, that's a key symptom of the Medusa virus. This virus is becoming more dangerous as time goes by. Eye contact was one thing, but now that it's in the air, oh boy. And the fact that one of the doctors caught it could mean that it's spreading throughout the research facility. Yikes. With that being said, let's now continue. Sirens in the Sky, Stone Cold 3. That title's already making me nervous. Anyways, the video opens with a presentation from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and it's about the fundamentals of guns and shooting. As for what's the target, it's birds, and the video specifies infected flocks. Shotguns were recommended when being attacked by these flocks. Following after this, we see footage with muted audio, and it's of a person outside, and above them are a whole lot of birds. Turns out the birds can make intense, loud noises that can release the Medusa virus, and it's triggering people into wanting to eliminate the problem. We actually hear that noise because the footage fails to censor the audio, and it indeed is the sounds of birds screeching. Now, switching away to a familiar emergency alert from the White House, it's confirmation that the Medusa virus is using birds as a method of spreading the infection. And this is interesting because first it was sight, then it was breathing, and now it's hearing. The Medusa virus is using all methods it can to infect people, so it's recommended to wear earbuds and to lock yourself somewhere while trying not to learn the ability to lockpick so you don't get out if you hear the screeches. To be more specific, hearing the screeches activates the fight or flight response in your body, and if you go outside, that's already a no-no, since that will just further expose you to the virus. Following after this is an ominous message that reads, "Lock yourself in before the angels take you. Your screams will be drowned by the sounds of the sirens in the sky. Losing control of your body and mind is inevitable. Ignore the vultures, cleaning meat off the bones of the dead." We then hear a glitched young voice, roughly saying the words, "Why must we learn to live death? I miss the sky and grass outside. I miss the smells of the market. I miss my friends who looked into the wrong eyes. What happened to human power? I can't see the sky anymore." And this is where the video concludes. Now, the obvious takeaway from this video is how the birds and the Medusa virus are forming a symbiotic relationship. The birds help infect people and drive them to go outside to further get infected, and once they're dead from the virus, the birds can come down and eat their remains. Delicious. As for that ending, it's becoming abundantly clear that humanity is attempting to survive this virus with a variety of methods. However, it's not an easy life to accustom to, which is apparent with children, since children are meant to be more free and active during their youths. But how can they if they have to live under these conditions? Sad. Just sad. Anyways, now moving on to the next video. Nice to eat you, Stone Cold 4. Firstly, we see security footage, then a person sitting at a computer with a newspaper nearby talking about the virus and a national-wide food shortage. The person on the computer soon gets an alert about someone being caught on their cameras outside, which they immediately reacted to. We watch them open the front door, but it was seemingly nothing, and soon they pick up a phone call. It's between Bill and Martin. Martin, I'm assuming, is the person we've been following, and they ask their friend why they're calling so late. Turns out Bill just wanted to check up on Martin and ask a bit about the food shortage going on. However, Martin couldn't chat for long, so they ended the call and Martin returned to his computer in order to check out the articles that Bill sent him earlier. The header for the article is, "Thousands shocked as national-wide food shortage hits the UK." It states how the Medusa virus is affecting crops, leaving local farmers and towns starving. But the most alarming thing is how English police confirmed sightings of strange black sludge, which seems to limit crop lifespans. Because of this, obviously don't touch the mysterious sludge, and the public are told to conserve any food that they have on hand. Sadly, many people aren't lucky, and it seems like many are resorting to cannibalism. Anyways, jump scare. There's an alert about a break-in. Martin immediately gets up from his chair to check out what is happening, and soon discovers a creepy stranger who attacks him. This is obviously one of the cannibals mentioned in the news articles and social media posts, meaning we can safely assume Martin didn't survive that encounter. Speaking of which, the Medusa virus and everything connected to it really hates humanity, making us not feel safe enough to feel free outside, taking away our food, and also our morality along with it, because people are saying, "Screw you, as long as I get to survive, I will eat your face." Yikes. What a terrible world to live in. Very interesting though. Let's now move on to the final video. Cold Shoulder, Stone Cold Finale. It first opens with a scene of multiple camera angles pointed towards a TV which someone is watching until that gets interrupted with a familiar alert from the White House. In the alert, it states how officials are aware that everyone is scared and losing hope, especially with the fact that discovering a vaccine leads to little results at the moment. However, the National Virology Lab is still hard at work, giving updates on the virus. Speaking of which, more symptoms were discovered, which is a cold sensation around the neck and chest, similar to the feeling of cold hands on your body. Not only that, but having this strange sense or feeling as if someone is standing behind you. I'm sure that this triggers a lot of paranoia, especially since many of the patients claim the feeling of an icy cold breath behind them. And at the end of the alert, the voiceover prays for the well-being of anyone who's alive and watching the broadcast. This is obviously bad, so how worse can it get? Well, you see, the virus is getting into many ventilation systems and has infected almost everyone's ACs. And if you start to see orange smoke leaking into your homes, just kiss your loved ones goodbye. The alert also tells you to try to stay clean, but I doubt no amount of cleaning will help you escape the Medusa virus. And with that, the video concludes with the sight of a person with melty, exploded, empty eye sockets. This could only mean another one bites the dust. And another one. Okay, I'm sorry. Now, despite this being titled the finale, it's not the end of the Stone Cold series. However, this is the conclusion of the first part of the series, so for today, we're going to stop at this video, and let's now move on to the conclusion of my video. Conclusion! The title Medusa virus is very fitting if you think about it because of the fact that the victims go into paralysis after being exposed to it. Not only that, but originally, to get infected, it involves literal eye contact, which is reminiscent to the legend of Medusa, where if you make eye contact with her, you turn into stone. But in the case of the virus, you just go into paralysis and become stone cold while your eyes explode out of your head. Ew. Anyways, that was pretty obvious, so I'm sure I didn't have to point that out, but for those in the back who need things pointed out to them, I'm saying it regardless. Plus, reiterating things is important, even if it can be annoying at times. But here's something strange that has to be pointed out about the virus and the weird things revolving around it. Specifically the video mentioning demon eyes, the alerts ending with prayers to God, that brief comment on angels in the sky during the bird videos, and lastly, how the virus is quickly evolving and no matter what humanity does, it seems to never work to fight against it. This obviously isn't normal. Now, technically, I haven't watched the next part, so I could be wrong with where I'm heading with this theory. However, there has to be more to this than just a simple virus, like something more supernatural. It's evolving too quickly and way too specific to target humans for it to be normal. It's taking out our senses, bodily control, and even our abilities to grow more food. It's like something is trying to wipe out humanity and is using this virus to do so. It's the end times for humanity. Doomsday. The apocalypse. Let's list off everything to reiterate how bad this virus is. No matter what sense it is, the virus can easily get you, and it evolves with each methods humans use to evade it. For example, after a while, doing a quarantine can't save humanity because the virus will soon affect your ACs, making it impossible for people to even get clean air into their homes while having everything shut tight. So people can either suffocate in their homes or accept their fate and go into paralysis and eventually die, which sucks. And this is obviously targeted since animals like birds aren't fully affected and are actually benefiting from this. The crows are feasting on humanity's corpses after they lure us out, so they're vibing with a freaking virus. Selfish little creatures. This is why I don't trust birds. Anyways, back to the virus not being normal, the comments from infected people claiming that they're sensing and feeling the presence of someone behind them and their necks and chests getting cold as if someone with cold hands is touching them is unnerving. It brings a whole other aspect besides it just being a virus that is inside your body. Almost like there's a ghost or a spirit or an invisible monster that is latching onto people and killing them. How deadly, but fun. Be grateful that we're not living in this world. Anyways, this is the end of today's video, but if you're thirsty for more content, then the links to the channel and the videos are in the description, of course, and as I mentioned from the beginning, it's a pretty creepy and fun ride, which I highly recommend, so go check them out. But first, don't forget to like, subscribe, do the funny little notification thing, maybe follow my other social medias, leave a comment, and I better not catch you dying on me. Goodbye!